Hi, Ann.
Hi.
Gotcha. Um, we have we should let everybody know that we have already discussed how we're doing our health
No.
and our agendas and all that stuff. That has been discussed already, so we're prepared to dive
Okay, you
right
guys
in.
can't get into a fight with on either side of the monitor. That's not going to
Oh,
work.
okay. Somebody was. I got to tell you, Tizzy is about to go with me again to because we are recording this just before I leave to go back to Los Angeles for the second half of the Noir City Film Festival in Hollywood. And Tizzy is going with me to attend the second half. Kathleen is also going with me,
But
and we're taking Tizzy with us. And I think Tizzy is in the stretch run here.
yeah,
I think she's getting a little spacey and feeble, but she has surprised before, where we said this is it, this will be her last trip, and then we take her and the traveling seems to energize her or something. So anyway, who knows, maybe she'll make an appearance at NOIR City. I don't know.
okay.
And what are you studying? You're studying something there to
I'm stating the fact that for some reason, when Emily was up on the desk, she made my questions disappear. The, the,
okay.
the, the Word document's blank now, and I don't know what she
Excellent.
she
What a
did.
cohort. She just doesn't want you to do the show anymore. She
I guess
obviously.
not. No,
Now
it's
she's over
okay.
there just flipping her tail around like,
Like nothing
I did
happened.
that. I did that.
It's okay because I emailed you the questions, which I assume you read and weren't blank, I hope.
No, they were not blank. I mean, I opened them up about 20 minutes ago, I have to say, just to scan over and gee whiz, I feel grungy. I hope that doesn't show up on screen. I feel very grungy right now. I'm trying to get everything together before I fly in the morning, and I'm like had to get the recycling out and do the
Ugh,
dishes and laundry and all that stuff. So,
yeah, I hear you.
oh,
Okay.
there you go. There you got both of them off in the corner there.
Yeah,
Tyrion,
and
right? Tyrion.
Tyrion and Ellie's on the other side of this monitor. So Emily was on this side and
Oh, okay. You
Ellie
knew
was,
there were.
yeah,
You could anticipate some issues in the midst of the show. Yeah.
exactly. So I was kind of just getting things cleared off and hopefully my focus will. What the hell? Okay, hopefully that will be it for the night and the cats.
Okay. No, he's going for the tail. Tyrion, they're up. They're having a little set to there. Tyrion looks just like this feral cat that lives outside our house. You know you're a sucker. You're a cat person sucker. When I actually spent a part of today desperately trying to make plans to have someone come and feed the cat that isn't our cat. Right? I'm going to be gone for
Yeah.
4 days, and we have this cat that we feed on the porch every night. And he's very, very smart because he comes at sundown, and then we feed him, and then he eats everything and goes, and then the raccoons show up to like they want to get the cat food, but he's too clever for them now. So anyway, uh that all got taken care of. So I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's
Okay,
roll.
let's
Okay, you
roll.
did you find your questions or am I
I
reading them
found the
all?
questions.
Okay, good. You go. You start.
Okay, so this is from our friend Britt in Lynchburg, Virginia. I feel like contemporary screenwriting wisdom steers modern screenwriters away from using voiceover. To me, voiceover is merely a writing tool like any other that can be executed well or poorly. What can modern screenwriters learn from film noir's use of voiceover?
Okay. That's a good question. Thank you,
Oh,
Britt. Um, I think that voiceover was not used particularly well in the classic era. I mean, there's great voiceovers, right? There's by great writers. I mean, the Double Indemnity voiceover is fantastic. The Out of the Past voiceover is fantastic. I love Claire Trevor's voiceover in Raw Deal. Though they're great, but there was a tendency to use voiceover back then just to fill in gaps in the plot and
yeah.
stuff. The thing about contemporary voiceover that I and that I love. And it's interesting because at the end of this show, when we talk about stuff that we've seen lately, I will talk about a show that I just finished that has a really good voiceover, multiple voiceovers, but the difference is it's not voiceover narration, because I draw a distinction between the use of voiceover as a technique, which is where you either hear characters speaking, but what's being said is not what's in the scene that you are watching, or it's an internal monologue that doesn't have to apply to what you're seeing on the screen. So I find that's like the only really effective use of voiceover anymore. I think that if you're just doing voiceover that's on top of what's readily apparent to the viewer, it's just not as effective. And quite honestly, I have seen so many first films and student films and things that are done as homage to film noir that have incredibly bad voiceovers because they're just being clever and commenting on what you're already seeing, right? So in some, unless you're really really good, um I don't get the point of that, so I just think that the voiceover has gotten so sophisticated that it's best when used as a juxtaposition to what you're seeing on the screen. Like you're hearing somebody talking about something, but you're seeing something related
Yeah.
to it, but it's not directly connected. So it's really making the audience work a little bit, which I think is invaluable.
Okay.
There, that was that. Um, it did you now I just popped into my head. Did you watch that show Sugar with Colin Farrell?
No, I did not.
See, that to me was a strange use of voiceover because he plays a private eye, and the show was kind of obsessed with old film noir. Like he was a film noir fanatic. And so there was a big voiceover, but it was kind of a cheat because it was just, in some ways it was used to distract you from what was actually going on, like who he was. So
Yeah.
he's providing a voiceover that makes you that it is clearly meant for you to associate him with classic film noir detectives of the past, when the point of it was to hide what he really was. I don't want to spoil it for people who
Yeah.
haven't seen it, whatever. But suffice to say, he was not an old-fashioned detective from the past. So it was just used that way. So people thought, oh yeah, I've seen this before. I know what this is. But of course it wasn't.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
that's
think the
all.
best, sorry, I was just gonna say, I think the best voiceover I've seen recently is probably in the TV series You, which is really important because the books are told from the point of view of the character, and it's good because he's um a psychopath and he gets really obsessed with these women, and so he's acting very charming and interacting when he's talking to the woman, but you're seeing what his actual thought process is and
Mm,
how he gets obsessed with these women and stuff. So I think that was a really good use for it. And Dexter, in the TV series, but even more so the book. I mean, I know I keep talking about the Dexter novels, but just it's all his internal monologue, and it's amazing. And it's very clever what Lindsay does in the books, because a lot of times what he's thinking doesn't match what the other people are doing because he doesn't have any emotional intelligence. So, like at one point, you're sitting there going, your girlfriend thinks you're having an affair, but he can't see, which he wasn't, but he can't see that because he doesn't have any emotional intelligence because he's a psychopath. So it's always really fascinating the way Lindsay does that in the Dexter novels, because you'll pick up things and understand things way before Dexter
interesting.
does. Yeah.
Interesting. It sounds almost like the point of it was to play off the traditional voiceover narration in an interesting new way, kind of, which I think is can be really good.
Yeah.
I just don't think the traditional film noir voiceover works so much anymore.
Yeah.
It's partly like if LA Confidential or a film like that, I can't even remember if it had a voiceover, to be honest with you, or voiceover narration or anything. But it plays like a parody for a lot of people. I mean, unless it's super good, it can just hit wrong. Um, so you got to be very, very careful. But so I do agree with what Britt says. It is a tool, and if you use it smartly and don't just use it as a crutch, but use it as a very vital storytelling device, then I think it can be good. Okay.
Okay.
John in Tampa says one of the most fascinating discussions that I see and read are the arguments about whether a film is noir or not. Oh my God. Well, I'm glad it remains fascinating to you, John. Because it's starting to wear me out a little bit. But anyway, so he asked, what are three films that you are steadfast in your belief that it's not film noir, yet you get strong pushback from fans that argue with you that the opposite, that it is a film noir? Um, the funny thing about that, John, is that it usually works the other way. Usually I'm the guy extending the dun 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 dun. It feels like we should have Jaws music or something. Okay, there he goes. Cat butt alert. The point of that was usually I'm the guy kind of broadening and extending the definition of noir to say, hey, if you look at this movie sideways, this could definitely be considered a film noir. And people generally give me the pushback saying, no, I don't really think that's noir. How could you think of that as film noir? Where I get into trouble sometimes is where like I've always maintained, people are always shocked when The Big Sleep is not on a list of my favorite film noirs, because I don't really consider it at heart to be a film noir. It's like a detective screwball comedy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's never any of the potential for doom and danger and stuff that you normally associate with film noir. I mean, when you think about it, 1946, the vibe of The Killers, let's say, or The Postman Always Rings Twice, is totally different than the vibe of The Big Sleep. Even though the window dressing is all there and, Philip Marlowe and all that stuff, but it just doesn't feel like film noir to me. It feels like more like a screwball comedy. So I don't have a real fast and glib answer for you on this one, John, because the films that I think are not film noir, I mean, I see. I don't know. I guess I'll just go with The Big Sleep there. I mean, from the classic era, I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that came later that was kind of marketed as film noir, and I'm like, I don't think so at all. Especially a lot of neo noir stuff, which to me just seemed like cops and robbers movies and action shoot 'em ups, and somehow they get called film noir, and it's like, I don't see that. Noir is much more character driven to me, and like for example, I don't think of Reservoir Dogs or something like that. I never think of that as a film noir. I don't really think of Tarantino's movies at all, even ones that kind of stray into noir, like Pulp Fiction. They're not film noir. I mean, his whole attitude and approach to movies is not that.
Yeah.
He's way too playful and to really give in to a fully empathetic noir film. So sorry I didn't come up with 3 for you there, but that's the best I could do.
That's a good one. You answered it well. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, whoops. Hold on. Oh, no. No, 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 no. I feel like I'm hurting cats. Okay.
They're into it this time. This is a big cat episode.
Okay.
Now I should go roust Tizzy. She's sound asleep downstairs. I'm not going to bother her, but okay. Number 3.
This is Doug of Doug and Laura fame.
I just saw Doug and Laura. Just saw them in LA.
And you'll see them again, I think, next weekend too. I think they're coming again. We're shooting this, so people know, in between the 2 weekends of Noir City, Hollywood. What Noir film did not cost very much to make, but delivered the best results, i.e. the biggest bang for the buck? Not in the matter of box office, but quality.
That's an interesting question. I don't closely study the budgets of these things. I mean, obviously the one that pops right to mind is one that we showed on last Friday in LA, is Detour. Which couldn't be made for much less money than it was made for, and has stood the test of time. And its ramshackle, impoverished quality is one of the things that makes it work so well. If you're talking about hiding the poverty of the production and getting something really special up on screen, I don't know, because I don't. If I haven't studied it, I don't really know. Plus, for me, this question feels like it actually is more germane to later noir films, because in the classic era, all the B movies cost pretty much the same. They're like $285,000 to $300,000 movies, and unless it's Detour, and then they didn't even get to 30,000, I don't think, something like that. But everything costs so much more today, in the 70s on, that when you made a low budget film, it really meant something, because, like I don't think of it as a film noir, but, like Robert Rodriguez making El Mariachi, and spending $7,000 to make the movie and getting it released as a feature film is pretty extraordinary. The Coen brothers making Blood Simple for virtually nothing, and it started their careers. So I would say, that's a lot of bang for the buck right there. And here's one that we just showed. We showed The Last Seduction last Saturday, and John Dahl was a wonderful guest and a very humble and bright guy. And, it was apparent in talking about the film that, it barely snuck out. There was no money involved in that. And it was originally began as a TV deal, a cable TV thing, which came back to bite him in the butt, because they couldn't get Oscar nominations and all that. But man, I had so much fun watching that movie again. I've probably seen it 4 or 5 times, but this time it really is interesting, because it is it's 30 years old. I think it's about 30 years old now. And, that's when you can really start to gauge, this thing holds together. This is a modern classic. You can say that without any hesitation when you get to like 25 and 30 years old. Yeah. If it continues to hold up, because it's cycled through a few cultural trends and, all that kind of stuff. And man, that movie is entertaining. Yeah. And she is just unreal in that film, how good Linda Fiorentino is. So, I'll pick that as an example. And even the next day we showed The Grifters, and quite honestly, The Grifters isn't a big budget movie either. Scorsese produced it. They knew what they were doing. the key to that movie was getting Donald Westlake to write the screenplay and adapt the novel. I'm sure Frears got paid a nice chunk of change, but Annette Bening was not Annette Bening,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that was her third movie, and she was delightful. She came out and appeared with the film and was absolutely fantastic. Knew a lot about Jim Thompson. That kind of blew my
All
mind.
right.
She had read the novels and she knew his life story and the whole thing. It was really cool. She may have just been great at doing homework, and knew she was going to do this, and so she prepared. Either way, I have immense respect for that. But John Cusack was not a big star, and Angelica Houston was, not the highest paid actress in Hollywood. Let's put it that way. And but man, they another absolute modern classic when it comes to noir, and that I have no hesitation saying is as noir as it gets.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, I mean, the thing that kind of bothers me when people talk about the grifters, though, is I do not think that John Cusack gets enough credit for that performance. It is an incredible performance, and people tend to talk about the two women and not him, and I
just
thought
just like I did in the theater, I kind of forgot all about him because it really is sort of about the two women. But you're absolutely right.
I mean, his performance in that is amazing. Yeah, yeah, that's all. I just wanted to say he was great in the film.
It always amazes me when, because I remember those comments have followed that film throughout its history, right? And that is 35 years old now, that film.
Yeah.
And I remember this is how idiotic some critics can be, right? When they said, I remember reviews saying that Cusack comes off as a lightweight between these two powerhouse women. And it's like, that is kind of the point of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. So how can you say he's not good or he's miscast if he is completely embodying what the point of the screenplay is? He is 25. He is clearly, they say in the film that he is 25 years old. Right. And I'm certain that John Cusack was older than 25 when he made that movie. Right.
Yeah.
And Angelica Houston plays his mom. And again, there's a line of dialogue in the movie where she says, that's what happens when you have a child at 14.
Yeah.
Right. So she's 39 years old in that movie, the character, and he's 25, which is what the movie is about. Right?
Yeah.
It's about the fact that this guy is so messed up and confused in his head because his mother is like old enough to be his sister, not his mother, right? And so, and that it all pays off in that ending, which is just stunning, just absolutely jaw-dropping. And I love that Annette went out of her way to talk all about how great Angelica Houston is in that film, and particularly in that last scene with Cusack, where, as you say, he is amazing in that scene. The two of them together, it's like a noir masterclass in how to make an audience incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe from Pasadena, California says, last year, but you specified 2023.
No, he did.
He did. Okay.
And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, last year, 2023, at the noir showings at the Aero Theater. That was when the Egyptian was still closed and being remodeled. My wife and I had an opportunity to talk with you after the showing of The Spiritualist. Oh, and then he goes into some personal details here. Yeah, we were about where we were eating and all that kind of stuff. And he refers to the shoe accident. One of my shoes fell apart. And like I had to, God bless Brian Light, he drove back to his house to get me another pair of shoes. Anyway, I mentioned one or more movies that were filmed in the Pasadena area. Can you remind us again?
Halloween.
Well, okay, if you know, let it rip. Of course, it would be a horror movie, The classic noir film that I know of from the 40s that was shot in Pasadena was the Brasher Doubloon, the 20th Century Fox Chandler adaptation. The Brasher Doubloon, a lot of that was shot in Pasadena. I know there are people watching this now who can fill in what the famous house is. There's a famous house in Pasadena. The name escapes me right now. That was used a lot in movies, and I'm pretty sure it was also used in the Brasher Doubloon. And there's an old mansion that I'm going to whiff on the actress's name now. The older woman in the that movie. The house where she lives is in Pasadena. And so a lot of it was shot on location there. And I'm sure there's a lot of, I think Pasadena gets used a lot when there's like an affluent neighborhood somewhere, and they want you to think it's LA, but they actually go to Pasadena to shoot it. I think, unless I'm mistaken, I think Evelyn Mulray's house in Chinatown, I think, is actually in Pasadena. I could be wrong about that, but I remember reading that somewhere that, anyway, uh, Joe, I don't have a lot more for you on that one. Uh, but what can I say?
Yeah, and I think
I was going to
there's been
say
some.
I'll look it up, but honestly, I'm not going to. It'll cross my radar, and I'll say, oh yeah, there's another one that was shot in Pasadena. Yeah.
I think
Anyway,
there's been some Colombo in Pasadena as well.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and this is from our friend Ken from Oklahoma. The tragic short life of Laird Cregar has me wondering if there are other actors who showed great promise in their film noir roles, but had their careers shortened before they could achieve their true potential.
Hmm. Interesting. Can you think of anybody, Anne, like from the classic era? I mean, usually it has to be a crash and burn because the studios, if they invested in them, they would use them enough times that they kind of made an impression and they have a little bit of a film legacy, like Fox. I mean, Laird Cregar, given that he died at whatever 26 years of age or something, he left behind a body of work because Fox signed him, and he got to do a lot of stuff. So even though he was only in movies for I think 5 years, there's a lot of good films in there. The Lodger and Hangover Square and This Gun for Hire and I Wake Up Screaming, and there's Dragonwyck. I think he's in, or he was supposed to be in Dragonwyck. I think that was he was supposed to be, but he died, and Vincent Price got the part instead. Um, I so I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, it should have been Lawrence Tierney, but he lived.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
Well, I'll just say, because I just did a moment ago and it popped into my head. The one that uh, got me was Linda Fiorentino. That she was so great in The Last Seduction, and when we did that thing on Saturday with John Dahl, which was really fun because Peter Berg, who's the co-star
Yeah.
of The Last Seduction, showed up at the screening. He came to the screening, and the producer was there, and the film's editor was there. All these guys, just unbeknownst to each other, all showed up at the screening to, Old Home Week. And afterwards, we were talking. We kind of had this funny notion that Linda Fiorentino was going to kick open the doors to the theater and like come in and kick everybody's ass or something, like, how dare you do this without me? But none of them had any idea where she is now. And because she really did just vanish. And I know there was a bit of a scandal in her. She got branded as kind of difficult, which only means, I'm not going to let you exploit me. I'm only going to make stuff that I want to make. So you immediately get branded as difficult. And she just got sick of the business, I think. John Dahl said that because she was 35 years old when she made The Last Seduction, right? And everybody thinks of that as the first time they ever saw her on screen
Yeah.
was The Last Seduction. I mean, she was in other stuff. She was in Vision Quest and a couple of other movies, but I think she was sick of Hollywood already and was leaving and was actually driving east halfway across the country when her agent sent her the script for The Last Seduction, and she turned around and drove back to LA and basically told John Dahl, I'll kill you if you don't cast me in this movie, because this is the part I was born to play, right? And she's just fantastic in it. But then nothing really happened. She did Men in Black and she did a couple other things that clearly they did not know how to use her. Uh, and then she got involved in a scandal with Anthony Pelicanos, who was the fixer, Hollywood fix-it man. If anybody's watched the show Ray Donovan, the character that Liev Schreiber plays in Ray Donovan is kind of based on Anthony Pelicanos. And I won't go into all the details, but I think her relationship with Anthony Pelicanos kind of soured a lot of Hollywood on her, because Pelicanos had rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because he was like, seriously, like investigating shit to get dirt on people and all that. And so that wasn't so good for her career. And then somebody told me that she was really freaked out because a woman in Alaska murdered her husband.
Yeah.
And when she was arrested, she said that she was inspired by Linda Fiorentino in The Last Seduction. Like that's what convinced her she should do in her husband. You may, I don't know when the last time you saw the movie was, Anne, but you may recall that the point of the movie, which is kind of brilliant, is that she develops this telemarketing service to murder your husband. That was a big part of the plot, right? Like she's a specialist in telemarketing, and then she figures out how to call women whose husbands have multiple credit cards and are under other women's names. And so she gets the wife on the phone and pretends that she's calling about the husband's credit card. And then when she finds out, when the wife says, I don't understand what you're talking about, she says, oh, I see this. And then, she talks the wife into hiring somebody to kill her husband. That's what this woman in Alaska actually did, and said she was inspired by the movie. I think that freaked Linda Fiorentino out. Who knows? Well, I'm telling all this, I think, in the off chance that somebody will see this on Facebook and knows her and will send it to her. Because Linda, if you happen to see this, please come back. Come back, at least for a screening of The Last Seduction, where you can make a celebratory appearance as one of the greatest femme fatales in the history of the genre. I mean, she is as bad as they get in that movie, and she's fantastic.
It's a wonderful, wonderful performance.
Yeah. Okay, my turn now. Hold on, I got to move my page. This is Liz, and I don't know where Liz is from, but Liz has read about the noir crime novel Black Wings Has My Angel. What a great Black Wings Has My Angel. And its long history of almost getting made as a film. A long list of actors has come and gone over the years as being involved with this project, then crickets. It would be an amazing film if it ever got made. Do either of you have any opinions on your dream casting for this book as a film? Both modern actors and actors working in 1953, the year it was published. And then Liz says when she read the book, all she could see was Rhonda Fleming as the sinister femme fatale Virginia. Obviously, Linda Fiorentino would be perfect. Actually not. That's actually my memory of that character is it's not really a Linda Fiorentino type of character. Have you read the book, Anne?
I have not, so I'm going to have to pass on answering the question.
It's wild. I mean, it is a wild, almost surreal noir thriller. It's very much like Gun Crazy. It feels very much like Gun Crazy to me. But Gun Crazy, if it had been directed by David Lynch and it was set in 19, back then, like Lynch was making a movie in the early 1950s, which I guess some of his movies feel that way,
Really,
right?
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I know that yeah. I don't think anything has come of that. Elliot Chase, by the way, Chaze is the author's name. And my friend Barry Gifford was actually very much involved in resurrecting that book and bringing it back into circulation, because that was when Barry was still in charge of Black Lizard publications out here in Berkeley, California. And I believe that Black Wings Has My Angel was the last book that Barry bought for that series. And that was like his big goal for the last year or two of that Black Lizard, the original iteration of Black Lizard, was still in existence before he sold it to, I think, to Viking. Was to get the rights to that book, and he ended up getting them directly from Elliot Chase. And he tells a really great story about going to meet the guy and how strange he was. And he's my recollection is, and Barry, if you happen to hear this, don't accuse me of stealing your stories or anything, but it just goes to show you how this left an impression on me. He recalled going to visit Elliot Chase. I think he lived in Mississippi or something. And he said, come over and we'll have lunch. And lunch was cucumber sandwiches on white bread with the crusts cut off and a glass of milk. Which, okay, that's kind of wild, That's probably what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. Anyway, and then later on, Barry told me that they had been back and forth on this thing being made, and as far as I know, the last person to own the rights to it was Elijah Wood. Right? I mean, not an actor that I would have picked to play the male lead in that thing. Elijah Wood, right? From Lord of the Rings, the guy from Lord of the Rings. So, as for the women, I have no idea. Rhonda seems a little too regal to me to play that role, because she was I don't know, maybe Gloria Graham. I mean, there was a certain ultra dangerous quality about this character. And I don't know that Rhonda has that danger in her. I mean, so it's hard for me to say. That's why I think of somebody like Gloria Graham, who can be ditzy but also very, very dangerous. So hard to say. Among modern performers, not sure. God, I got to think about this. Sorry, Liz. I'm not helping you out very much here, but it would be kind of cool if it got made, and if it did get made, I would want it to be a movie, not a series. I don't want it. Black Wings Has My Angel is like 1950s pulp paperback that is supposed to be 90 minutes or less on screen, and it does not get turned into a 8-hour miniseries. That's what I would not want to see. Okay.
And this is Joe from Suffolk County, New York. After reading Dashiell Hammett's early Continental Op stories, I've been thinking about who best cast as the unnamed self-effacing detective with a lunch pail mentality would be. Ernest Borgnine topped my list. Other contenders include William Conrad, Edmund O'Brien, and Burt Young. I'm sure I'm leaving many good candidates off my list. Who would you pick if you could step into the casting agency time machine?
Interesting. I've always, when I read the bulk of the Continental Op stories. That was in the 1970s and early 80s. And I saw an actor who was working a lot then, Charles Durning.
Hmm.
That's who I saw as the Continental Op, and I think he would have been perfect because he I don't know. William Conrad is fantastic, of course, but he carries a lot of baggage from all the other roles that he played, and I think uh, the thing I loved about Charles Durning is that he was such an everyman. William Conrad is a little distinctive. He has a super distinctive voice and all that. But Charles Durning, I could really see as a bulky, heavy set, rumpled detective, middle aged detective whose feet hurt, which is the way they always describe the Continental Op. So, but the classic thing with that is it's never that stuff like that never happens because they're never going to make a movie with Charles Durning as a lead character, right? So, but he's who I definitely saw. And Edmund O'Brien, to me, he's a great actor and he could do anything, but I think his specialty became being laconic and then working his way into a frenzy, like in DOA and several other noir films that he made, where it's like, you push me too far this time, and then he, Shield for Murder and stuff like that, where he kind of goes wild, and then that's not the Continental Op. The Continental Op stays taciturn and level-headed through the whole thing. That's the whole point of it, right? I don't know if they made Hammett wrote Red Harvest. He didn't call it the Continental Op, but it's an unnamed detective who's the star of that story. And they were going to make it at Paramount, but they were going to cast Alan Ladd because they had success with the Glass Key. And then they said, "Oh, let's do this again." And Jonathan Latimer wrote the screenplay, and the screenplay still exists somewhere. And Alan Ladd was going to play it, which is totally different than the character that Hammett wrote.
Hmm.
But see, that's the point. I mean, if you're going to make a movie out of that, they're going to give it to a handsome, slender guy like Alan Ladd, and not a big, chunky character actor like William Conrad or Edward Arnold or somebody like that, Sidney Greenstreet. No, it's that he is not the guy you cast as the Continental Op. Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, actually, there was a radio show of the Continental Op, except they called it the Fat Man.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it was kind of weird because there were all these like jokes about his eating, which he couldn't do now. People would be so offended. But what I found out, which is interesting, because I knew this about The Shadow, but there was an Australian version of the show as well. It was really weird because they would do that sometimes with old. I'd like to read more about this and learn more about it, but there'd be like they'd have the same scripts and stuff, and they would just like do them in Australia.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
I
had no
know.
idea.
Yeah, because
I believe the Fat Man was made into a movie. I
oh,
think
really?
there is one. I think there's one, and I cannot remember who played the part, and it may even be British. It may have been a British film. Or I could be losing my mind. One or the other. But I do believe there was a film made from the radio show. So it was like short stories turned into radio show, turned into one feature film. And it was the guy who played it was not a known actor, was not a star or anything. And I think he had a mustache. I'm gonna have to look this
I'm
up.
very
Maybe I should.
intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
how do you pronounce his name? Leo Carrillo?
Leo Carrillo. Yeah.
Leo Carrillo. He would have been a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. Leo Carrillo. That's what they call the architecture in Southern California, Neo Leo Carrillo. Um, now I really want to look this up online and see what I'm if I was crazy or if there really was a Fat Man movie. Carlton in Atlanta, Georgia, asked, "Is there an actor whose appearance in a movie almost guarantees it as noir, and why is that actor Elijah Cook Jr.?" Very funny, but that is the answer, right? I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
cannot tell you, Carlton, how many times I have used that joke in introducing a movie because at TCM we don't do it as much anymore, but we used to shoot those noir or not things. And if they would say, "Is this movie noir or not?" And if Elijah Cook Jr. was in it, I would just go, "Elijah Cook Jr. is in it. Yes, of course, it's a film noir." You know. Um, oh, and this is kind of a. Oh, can I just go right into the next one
Yeah.
because it's kind of a tie-in here?
Yeah.
This is from Ann and Bill in Pleasant Hill, California. They say, "Name your favorite film noir hotel desk clerk." And they have four options here: Percy Hilton, Aaron Spelling. That's kind of interesting. Aaron Spelling, Elijah Cook, and Whit Bissell. So you've got three of the most ubiquitous actors in film noir right there: Percy Hilton, Elijah Cook Jr., and Whit Bissell. Uh, all really good. Aaron Spelling. I'm trying to remember. I wish, and Bill, I wish you were here right now so I could ask you whether you mean Aaron Spelling, because I think the only noir film that I recall seeing his name attached to was Vicky, which was the remake of I Wake Up Screaming. But in all honesty, I mean, he's obviously not my choice here because I can't even remember if that's him in the movie or not. Uh, but I'm wondering if you're possibly confusing him with Sheldon Leonard
Yeah.
because Aaron Spelling and Sheldon Leonard both
Both
went
movie
on to be
producers.
television producers. They were actors turned television producers, but Sheldon Leonard was in a million noir films. But I think Vicky is the only one I can recall that Aaron Spelling was in. Um, and man, I'm telling you, that's a murderer's row. If it is Sheldon Leonard, Percy Hilton, Sheldon Leonard, Elijah Cook Jr., and Whit Bissell, I think that now I'm inspired. The idea, I mean, they're all gone, obviously,
Yeah.
but wouldn't that be wild if they were like the gang? Like those four guys were going to do a heist.
I would watch that movie.
It's like, but who's the weak link? That's the question. Which it's certainly not Sheldon Leonard, but maybe that's the twist: is that
That would
Sheldon
be
Leonard
great if he wound
ends
up
up
being the.
being the loser who blows the whole thing for them. That is, or what if they were all like Brute Force remade with those guys all in the same jail cell? Whit Bissell is in the jail cell in Brute Force, of course, but that's pretty great. Um,
But
Whit
think how
Bissell.
much more realistic things would be with the four of them. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like those four guys, that would be so realistic to see a heist with those four guys, or if those four guys break out of prison. It would give it such a feeling of realism, you know? And
absolutely.
you would really feel perilous because you wouldn't have that confidence in them that they would be able to pull anything off, you know?
Well, this would be. Here's the question then. So a remake of Brute Force with those four guys, and then the flashbacks. What did they do to end up in jail? Right. I mean, Whit Bissell is. It's the same thing he did in Brute Force, right? He cooks the books and embezzles money in order to buy a fur coat for his young wife, right? That must be the same. And Elijah Cook, you're very tempted to say he shotgunned his wife, played by Marie Windsor. um, and Percy Hilton, well, he's in for attempted rape because he tries to rape Beverly Michaels
Yeah.
in Wicked Woman. So there we go. We got three of the, and Sheldon Leonard is just, he's obviously if it was Sheldon, he's the ringleader because he had a small time gang,
Yeah.
and he's trying to put the gang back together with these three goofballs. I'm telling you, we're on to something here. It's really a shame all these guys are dead.
I know, because this would be a great movie. And you could go either way. You could make it like a serious noir thing, or you could actually make it like a comedy.
Or you could play it as a comedy. Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
could do it either way. Yeah.
Okay, that was fun. Thank you.
So who's your pick?
Ann and Bill. As a desk clerk, I'm gonna say Percy Hilton. I'm gonna go with Percy Hilton as the hotel desk clerk.
That was mine as well.
Yeah, I see Whit Bissell as a bartender or something, or an accountant. Bartender or an accountant. Elijah Cook. What did he do? Well, he worked at the track, obviously, in The Killing, and he is the hotel desk clerk, of course, in I Wake Up Screaming. Well, Percy Hilton's a bartender too. He's the bartender in Crisscross.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so all of those are pretty, but it's a mystery. I'm hoping that Ann and Bill will be watching this segment and weigh in and say either no, we absolutely meant Aaron Spelling, because just clarify that, I would appreciate, or if indeed it was Sheldon Leonard. So okay.
What's the film where Sheldon Leonard is making the Caesar salad at the table?
That, I believe, is The Gangster. Is that right? Is it the?
Yeah,
no,
yeah, it must have been
The Gangster, or is that Akim Tamarov? I believe The Gangster has a scene where somebody is making the Caesar salad at the table, right? While Barry Sullivan is standing there talking to him, and he's making the salad at the table.
Yeah.
It's both Sheldon Leonard and Akim Tamarov are both in The Gangsters, so it's one of those guys.
Yeah.
They may be in the scene together. I just can't remember right now. It's coming up again on Noir Alley in a couple of months. So
I'm glad you're playing that again. I really love that movie. You got to play it at NOIR City again. I want to see that up on the big screen again. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's so weirdly theatrical, and I mean, the production design is incredibly fake.
Yeah,
but that's like what's so wonderful about it,
Belita's really great in it.
Yeah,
she's fantastic in it.
My heartthrob. I love her. Okay.
Okay. So I read this one since you did two in a row.
Yes. Okay.
This is Michael from Edmonds, Washington. Oh my God, that was near where I used to live. Do you write your scripts for your intros and wrap ups every week? They're very good, as is your delivery.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I do. I do write my scripts, and sometimes it gets a little, I'm like the kid doing his homework in school. It's like, this time I'm going to get a jump on it and start really early and have everything done, and I won't stress. And then invariably it gets away from me, and then it's like, I'm sending them, because yes, I write the scripts. Then I have to submit the scripts to be reformatted and fact-checked and vetted by the legal department, so that I'm not at risk of saying something that TCM is afraid is going to get them or me in trouble. And they have never changed much in a script that I've done. I mean, here, I'll tell you one thing that they did change a long time ago, and it sort of set a precedent. Was TCM has a rule that you can't talk about artists' sexual orientation unless they themselves have talked about it. So I thought that was interesting. So, and I'm not on TCM right now, so I don't have to say anything. But I wrote a script. I mean, I will say it. I wrote a script for a scene of the crime where I talked about Van Johnson being gay, and they made me change it because Van Johnson never, quote unquote, came out of the closet. So I felt like this was a known thing, and I had no qualms about it. And I wasn't, of course, expressing any kind of negativity. It was just, you know, in many cases, I do that because I want to point out to the ultra conservative viewers. I want to bring it to their attention that some of these people that they think were good old straight arrow movie stars, it's like, well, no, they weren't, and like you need to know that. And so that's what, but they said, Van Johnson never said it. So our rule is we don't say it either, and but for example, whenever I talk about Farley Granger, I have no bones about talking about his bisexuality, and because I knew Farley Granger, he's a personal friend of mine, and there was no question about it that he hit to all fields, and but that's it. Other than that, they don't really mess with anything that I write, and so I thank you, Michael. Alicia and I write our scripts. Just so you know. That's all. Okay.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of Alicia, and I'll put it up on the social media too, and it'll be on social media before this airs. But the poster for Noir City 22 is available now to purchase on the Film Noir Foundation website, because I know I've had a lot of people ask about wanting to buy that. So that is available now, and so is the program. You can buy copies of those on filmnoirfoundation.org.
Great. Yeah, Darl is taking care of all that fabulously.
Yeah.
Yes, there were, because we have the posters, of course, displayed in Hollywood, in the marquees and everything outside the theater and up on the screen, but we don't have the actual posters for sale in Hollywood, which turned out to be kind of a stupid thing because a lot of people are interested in those posters. So you get Alicia Malone 3 times on the poster, right? The good Alicia, the bad Alicia, and the Alicia on the front of the movie magazine with some other guy who always gets his mug on the poster. Okay, so this is the last one.
Yeah, and she's like perfect for that look.
Alicia?
Yeah, I mean, she looked perfect. She just has the perfect look for doing that kind of period clothing and stuff. She really looked like someone from that period.
Yeah, it's kind of magical in a way, and I think early on in her life, she realized that, because when Alicia first came to my attention, was the film stuff that she did on the internet, and she clearly knew how she photographed and what worked for her and her hairstyles and all that kind of stuff. And we did a photo shoot a couple of years ago at the Hollywood Legion, the American Legion Hollywood Post 43, for it was for Emmy Magazine, the magazine of the Television Academy, and we all kind of got done up like classic movie stars, right? But she sold it like it was incredible. Like, the rest of us don't really translate as movie stars. Jacqueline is incredibly beautiful, but she looks like a modern day woman, right?
Yeah.
But Alicia, when they had her with the waved hair and the cape and the gown and everything, is like, oh my God, she was like a cross between Rita Hayworth and Ava Gardner or something. She just looked fabulous. I think that had to be the genesis of when I said I got to get her on a Noir City poster one of these years. So yeah, and I just want you to know she is totally unlike that. She is so not a movie star. I mean, she's a jeans and t-shirt and shovel snow out of the walk and make some pottery and stuff. I mean,
No,
that's the real Alicia Malone, but she knows how to fake it real well.
no.
Anonymous asks, what was the name of the theme music and or performer featured in the original TCM Film Noir series intro? Amazingly, I don't know where they got this, but that piece of music is called Noir Alley Theme. that's what it was called, right? And it's not really it's an original piece of music, but it is in truth no longer than what you heard at the beginning of the segments, right? That was it. And the composer's name is Reed Hall. Reed did a lot of interstitial music for TCM. He is no longer with the company. I mean, I think Reed was part of that big purge when AT&T came in, and then the move to Warner Brothers, right? And then they were cutting people out and all. I think they cut out original music stuff. It was just like they were just going to buy it all and not have it composed in house. But I always felt like I loved it. And it's back. So it just goes to show you that they changed it when AT&T took over. There were some dramatic changes, but then at a certain point, a new creative director came in, and as creative directors do, they revamped everything to because it's my show now. So and I like the new guy very, very much, but he changed the whole look of the intro to the show and decided that the look of TCM had to change to be more contemporary, less. You remember TCM had the faces that represented the genres, and there was this big tough guy if it was a crime film, and it was like rubber stamp lettering TCM and all that. And they just decided that they were revamping and doing rebranding everything. And that's when it got a new theme that was very electronic sounding, and nobody liked it. Nobody liked it. And then it became this animated opening instead of the animated clips from the noir films themselves. And people really complained. People loved the intro music, and as did I. and I complained, and they brought the music back. They wouldn't bring the original graphics back. I believe a guy named Tim Riley did the original that opening sequence that was really cool. It had the eye moved, and then the light came through the door when the eye and noir moved. And I loved all of that stuff. But I'm glad it all exists on YouTube and everything, because people have uploaded all the intros and stuff, and you get the titles and all that. I mean, I don't have any problem with what's up there now, but I really like the original one a lot. And I always thought that it should have been a ringtone. I never got around to doing it, but I wanted to upload it to whatever these ringtone things are, and then have it be on my phone. Is like that's what I would hear when my phone rang, was the theme to Noir Alley. Seemed a little egotistical maybe, so I kind of didn't pursue it. But if anybody else wants to do it, I think it's a great idea. Okay, so that's our set of questions.
Yes.
Just real quick, Anne, have you seen, read, or watched anything recently that you would recommend?
I watched this film called The Possessed. I bought another Giallo set, and it's like a really weird film because it's sort of like an Italian art film, like Antonio. I put too many eyes in there.
Antonio.
and a giallo and a late era noir, like all together. And then
Sounds
like
good.
for like the last part of the film, the main character who's the narrator, he's trying to figure out what happened to this woman. Um, he has like this really high fever. So like the end of it, like he goes to like the police
You're
and
not
the
going to
police.
spoil this now, are
No,
you?
no, I'm gonna say he comes with what he thinks happened, and the police are like, okay, yeah, let's just go with that. And I'm like going, but we don't know if any of this is true because this is, but the character is an author. So it's really interesting because like as you're going, you're realizing this guy's acting like he's solving this. It's like, yeah, but where are you getting these ideas? Like I have no idea what information, why you were thinking this. And that's kind of the point of the film.
So
So
the classic unreliable narrator. Like,
yeah,
is
yeah, I
this guy
guess
just
so.
making this all up?
He
Yeah.
is because you're just kind of like going, but how do you know this? And I don't know. I wanted to show Ted, but Ted wound up
Well,
not coming over. But I want to watch it a second
those
time.
giallo films are kind of fascinating that way.
Yeah.
They're so
Yeah, but you
surreal.
usually get a definite with a giallo film, and this is why it's not really a giallo film, is because you with giallo film you do get an explanation. It may make no fucking sorry, it may not make any sense, but it's an
But
explanation
they try
based
to
on
give
what
you an
you know what I'm
explanation.
saying. Whereas this is
Yep.
seriously this guy. You just end up going, but I don't know that any of this is right.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it's possessed, not to be confused with the many other possessed movies. Yeah. What
right.
year was it?
I think it was like 65.
Oh, okay. So that's going back a little ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, it sort of predates when Giallo really came in. And like I said, it's like it's sort of like an art film, it's sort of like Giallo, and it's sort of like a late era noir. It's a very interesting film. And like I said, I wanted to watch it again, but Ted wound up not coming over because I had to work on the TV listings. But I want to get Ted to watch it because I think he'd like it. And I really want to see it a second time. And
If
I've
people don't
also
know
been,
Ted, we should explain. Ted is Ted Whipple, who is our the web maven for the
yeah.
Film Noir Foundation and does all the website work for the foundation and for the Noir City Film Festival and my website. Yeah, Ted is the web guy.
Yeah, and Ted and I get together every Saturday night. So people may not know that, but Ted and I get together every Saturday night and watch stuff. So we've just finished The Penguin, so we were ready to watch
Did
something
you like
else.
the Penguin?
Oh God, it was brilliant. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I haven't
Oh
watched
my
it yet,
God.
but I hear it. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's super noir.
Yeah.
It really is. It's very, very good. I think you'll really like it. And the woman that plays the female antagonist in it is excellent. I had not seen her in anything before, which means nothing because I never watch anything, but
Right.
she was really excellent. And the young man who plays sort of the protege of the penguin, I guess you would say. I mean, and I think this might have been the first thing he did. And he goes, and that is such a key performance because he's sort of your entryway into the world. You know what I mean? We're kind of, and I thought, of course, Colin Farrell's amazing and that's a brilliant performance. But yeah, and the woman that plays his mother is incredible too. It's a real, the acting in it is just great.
Well, I will definitely get around. How many episodes is it?
8.
Oh God.
Yeah.
8
So,
episodes kills me. I mean, it's like, oh my God, I can't.
yeah.
But at least it's all over now and you can binge watch it instead of having to wait, 8 weeks to see it. That's a little
Yeah. I mean, we watched 2 episodes every Saturday and did it that way. I mean, those
okay.
episodes are really dense, though. It's like Barry, where so much happens during the
Yeah.
episode. It's like, wow. They're not wasting any time,
Right. Right.
which I like.
I'm when we're done here, I'm going to have a cocktail and then I am going to watch the rest of Adolescence. Have you heard about
I
Adolescence?
have not.
Adolescence is like getting such a buzz. It's a 4-part British show about a 13-year-old boy who is accused of murdering a classmate.
Yeah.
And it's a 4-hour series that is done in 4 shots. Each episode is a single
It's a
take.
single take.
Is a single take. And I watched the first one last night and it is pretty mind-boggling. the the trick with that kind of stuff, and in some ways the subject matter is so intense and the performances are so intense that it feels disrespectful to talk about the technique of the film. But if you're into filmmaking, and people who aren't into filmmaking won't even realize it's one take. They won't even know it because they're watching these incredible performances. But the way they execute this, I mean, this show will be studied, for years to come. Like, how did they do this, right? And I've seen some behind the scenes footage of it that is extraordinary, where they are literally handing the camera off to other operators in the middle of shots because the characters are running up a staircase or something, and the guy like follows and jumps on a chair and then raises the camera up, and then somebody upstairs takes the camera from his hand and keeps going with the shot. It's extraordinary. So, and the acting is beyond belief. Stephen Graham, who's a British actor, who's really he's like I think of Stephen Graham as like the new Bob Hoskins.
Yeah,
that's who he reminds me of, and he is also the co-creator and co-writer, and plays the father of this boy in the show. He's fantastic, as the kid is. The kid is unbelievable. So that I'm watching that, and I'm also, I mean, I've said a bunch of times how I'm totally addicted to MHZ,
mm-hmm.
the MHZ network, and we recently just finished it the other night, a six part. Well, it's 2 seasons, so I don't know how many parts it is, but it's a show from a Croatian Ukrainian co-production of a show called The Silence that is really, really good, very intense, about sex trafficking in Eastern Europe, and it's a cop show, but it was very creative. I really enjoyed the performances. It's so different from American TV because the cops and the journalists and everything, they look like real people. They're not
Yeah.
They're not Hollywood types at all. The female cop is like this older woman. She reminded me a lot of Agnes Moorehead. And she just has this really, really strong face, and she's super intense. And anyway, I really, really liked it quite a bit, and it had a very good plot, and they kept you going. And the last 2 episodes are extremely suspenseful. So that was really good. Anyway, that's I'm just eager but dreading watching the rest of Adolescence, because Kathleen quit. She got halfway through the first episode and said, "I can't take this. It's way too intense." And yeah.
No.
And it's interesting because that's a show where it is unfolding in real time.
Yeah.
Because like it starts with the cops going into this kid's house, and it's like 6:30 in the morning, and then the show ends. It's 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was it. It was the hour that they arrest this kid and they take him to the police station, and there is no editing. It's like he gets a public defender. They strip search him. They do all this stuff. He has a meeting with his dad. Like the parents are just like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And it just puts you right in the middle of that in such a way that it kind of renders kind of ridiculous every other cop show, because you just realize how intense it is for the people who are involved.
Yeah.
Which you never really feel in cop shows. You know? I mean, they fake it on stuff like Law and Order and things like that, but this just feels so gut wrenching. Like your world is just blown apart. One day my son is arrested for murder. Holy cow. Anyway, that's it.
Cool.
So the next time we talk,
Yes.
Noir City Hollywood will be a wrap,
Yes.
and I will have had what I hope will be a wonderful conversation with Karen Kusama, the director of Destroyer, the Nicole Kidman film Destroyer, a film that I love, and Matt Manfredi and Phil Hay, her husband, are the screenwriters of that film. They're going to come out and talk about it, and I'll also show Bound this coming Sunday with the great Jennifer Tilly, who is a good time is guaranteed if Jennifer is involved. Yeah, so that'll be great fun. That show is completely sold out. So if I don't know when this is airing, if it's not going to air before.
No, we've got the episode we shot last week. So
Okay,
basically, so people
so
know
there's a week lag.
I wanted to put a couple in the bag when we could shoot, but I don't broadcast during. Sorry, my cat's trying to eat my head earpiece cord.
Okay. I don't want to have to buy you another one of those, Anne. So make sure she doesn't swallow it. They don't want to swallow anything like that because that'll get lodged in there. And I had a cat one time eat a little spiny ball, and because it could mush up, she ate it, and then it expanded in her stomach. But because it was kind of rubber, latexy rubber, it never showed up on the X-rays. So they said there's some kind of blockage in there, but we don't know what it is. It's just they put the barium in her, and it went through. They could see it, and then it just stopped. And they said we don't know what's there. I'm just going to be gross now. She eventually her body did its job, and she eventually pooped it out.
Yeah.
And then we realized what it was, and boy, was she happy.
I bet she was. I bet that was a big relief.
Yes, it was, because she could not eat. And then we saw her one night just shoot out of the litter box and like race into the kitchen and just start wolfing down food. Like she couldn't eat fast enough because she realized, oh my God, something just unplugged in me, Anyway, that's more info than our fans need to hear about our
cats.
Our cats. So yeah. All right, very good. Well, Anne, I know I'll see you next month.
You will see me at TCM, yes.
Down at the TCM festival. So I look forward to that.
Yeah.
And we'll do another one of these before then, I trust.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Like I said, we just need to bank these, even if it's, so we can, like I said, because I don't broadcast so I'm not going to broadcast on a night when we're doing Noir City Hollywood, for instance.
Gotcha.
So that's why we're not. That's why that's what's. I need to wrestle my cat. So
okay, go do your thing. Go wrestle your cat, and we will talk again very soon.
Okay. Good night,
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Bye.